Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. So I'm excited. It is March, and for me, with my 110 average frost-free days and my late May average last frost date, that means I am into the time where I can start really planting seeds in earnest. Now, obviously they're not going outside. It was snowing yesterday, but they'll be getting planted indoors. I will be growing a variety of seeds, of flower seeds, herb seeds, vegetable seeds. And for me, I'm into that 8 to 12 weeks before my average last frost date. A lot of the things that I'll be starting to sow in the month of March are going to be flowers, and then some of the longer season vegetable type things, and a couple of longer season herbs. You need to think about, when you're starting seeds inside, how much space do you have to have those seeds, because it can take up a lot of room when you start getting seeds started inside. Think about realistically, you don't need to sow necessarily everything in a pack of seeds. So you might want to consider that. Maybe you just want, a few of something. So just plant a few of something. Don't feel like you have to plant the whole pack. Maybe share a pack with a friend or two. Another thing you want to consider is how much time and effort you want to put into caring for seedlings, because anything that I'm starting now, I am going to have all of March, all of April, and in most cases, most of May or longer before it's going to go outside. So that's a lot of time to be taking care of seedlings inside. And if you don't have the time for that, pick different varieties, things with a shorter season, things that don't need to be started indoors, or maybe you just want to start just one or two special plants and buy the rest to start somewhere. And that's perfectly fine to do. For me, I really enjoy the challenge, the fun of growing things from seed. I like to put that little seed in this growing medium and see it sprout and watch it come up and become a plant, and then be able to enjoy the flowers or enjoy the food that comes from it. So for me, it's fun to do. I have a pretty good amount of space, and I have the time that I can commit to that. So those are things you want to keep in mind if you're going to be starting things from seed. The big question, what am I starting from seed in March? Lots. The flowers I'm going to be starting from seed in March are Bacopa, Calibrachoa, foxgloves, impatiens, bunnytails grass, petunias, salpiglossis, and snapdragons. Now, I've already started some snapdragons. I did that, I think, close to a month ago, and a few pansies. And that's just because those are fairly cold tolerant things, and I should be able to put those ones out a little bit early, and I'm hoping to have some blooms a little bit early on them. I seeded my bunnytails grass yesterday, and I will be seeding my foxglove and my impatient, the rest of my snapdragons today. Those are things that take a long time. Some of these other things won't be getting done until closer to the middle or the end of the month, but they're still on my plan for March. The herbs that I'm going to be starting are cumin and parsley. I've already have some sage and some thyme started, and I actually have a little bit of basil and lemon balm, I think, but those were just for fun. They don't need to be started inside that early. I'm also going to be starting my celery and my onions. My celery I'll be getting started this week, the first week of March. My onions will be following up shortly after that. Closer towards the end of the month, I'll be starting my peppers, the longer season ones, and also my longer season tomatoes. I've started my Sugar Rush peach peppers already, and I actually planted a few seeds of Hungarian hot wax, just out of curiosity to see if that little bit of extra time on those super long season peppers would be of any benefit, especially the Sugar Rush peach. They're new to me this year. They're supposed to be a really tall plant if they have the time to grow that way. So it's just kind of an experiment. I just have 3 cells of each that I've planted. So far, 2 Sugar Rush Peach have come up. I planted those about 10 days ago. Depending on how the weather is kind of shaping up, I might plant right near the end of the month, well, the middle of the end of the month, some cabbage and some cauliflower. Depending on how much snow we seem to be getting in March, and we usually get another snowstorm or 2 in March, especially near about mid to end of March. Usually they're not too heavy, but I would like to be able to get in the beginning to middle of April some cabbage and cauliflower starts actually put out into the garden. And I will use some season extender methods to do that. They're fairly cold tolerant, and so I can put some covers over the soil, warm the soil up, and have some protection for them, because we will still be getting some pretty cold nights and cooler days then in April usually. So it's just kind of, I'll just have to kind of judge what it's looking like and use my gut feeling on that one. But I'll probably start a few cabbage and cauliflower as well. You don't want to have those started too long in pots. It can kind of slow them down if they've been in pots for more than about 4 weeks sometimes. So it's good to get them out in the ground within that time. So that's kind of what I'm looking at with those. So that's my plans for my seed starting in March. If there's any of those things that you are thinking, I would like to know how that's done, I'd like to know how she seeds that, let me know in the comments down below. I can do a video on it and let you know how I plant those seeds when the time comes. If there's any of those things that you're thinking you want and you'd like to try starting from seeds, now is the time, if you don't have the seeds, to get your hands on those seeds and start planning with your average last frost date when you need to be planting them. Because if you have an earlier frost date than I do, then some of these things probably need to be getting planted a little bit sooner already. And there's one thing, if you don't have a lot of space to start seeds, something that you can think about is most of them give you about a 2-week range. So if you have a little bit longer season especially, but even in my 110 growing days for a lot of things, if it says to start at like 6 to 8 weeks early, instead of planting at that 8-week mark, plant it at that 6-week mark. You'll have a little bit smaller plant, but it takes up less, so you have 2 weeks less of time that you're taking care of that plant inside. And you can also look, when you're looking at starting your plants indoors, if you have a covered, like a cold frame or something outside, that some of these little bit more cold tolerant plants can be going out, or some plants are fairly frost tolerant. And if you can harden them off really well, sometimes you can start moving some things out, you know, a few weeks before your average last frost date, and have them outside instead of in your house. So that's something to consider when you're planning what seeds you're going to be starting indoors. It's going to be a busy spring in my grow room, and we're going to be starting off with a lot of things going in soil here in March, and it's just going to get more from there. So keep coming back and seeing what we're planting and what I'm growing, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.